In both rural and residential settings, wild boars are becoming an increasingly difficult problem to deal with as a result of their expanding populations and feeding behavioral patterns. These animals frequently create big herds, which may include piglets who are following their moms. They are able to be discovered in open fields, muddy marshes, and even close to human towns, where they browse in gardens, which causes local populations to be concerned. It is usual practice to set up trapping systems in strategic sites where wild boars frequently pass through in order to handle this problem. The majority of the time, these traps are made up of steel mesh panels that are formed into circular or rectangular enclosures with the intention of capturing entire herds. For the purpose of progressively attracting the animals, bait, such as corn, is carefully dispersed both inside and around the traps. There are infrared surveillance cameras that keep an eye on the traps during the nocturnal hours, capturing wild boars as they approach and enter the traps. Following the entrance of the entire herd into the trap, the operators make use of remote technology, which is typically controlled by cell phones, to trigger trapdoors or nets that swiftly secure the animals that are placed inside. Through the use of this technology, it is possible to effectively collect huge numbers with a small amount of disturbance. Depending on the terrain and the size of the herd, several kinds of traps are selected to be used. Simple cage traps for individual animals, massive corral-style enclosures made of steel mesh, and overhead drop net traps that may be released with a single trigger are some examples of these types of traps. During the process of trapping, each design is customized to lessen the likelihood of potential dangers and to guarantee efficient containment. Wild boars that have been captured frequently show indications of anguish and make attempts to flee, but the robust traps keep them from escaping. The successful capture of these animals contributes to the reduction of damage to agricultural land and the protection of natural habitats in the surrounding area. The use of aerial tactics is also utilized in regions that are difficult to access, in addition to the use of ground-based traps. In order to locate and track wild boar herds over a variety of terrains, including farmland and dry brush, operators are able to take use of the panoramic perspective that helicopters provide of the region. During aerial control operations, marksmen use rifles and shotguns to target animals that have become dispersed. This has the effect of lowering the population and averting future harm. The intensity of these airborne hunts is high, and perfect coordination is required in order to effectively regulate the movement of the animals. Once the operation is complete, the helicopters return to the base, and an assessment is made about the efforts made to strike a compromise between wildlife management and environmental concerns. The management of wild boar populations requires making difficult decisions with the goal of safeguarding crops, belongings, and the ecosystems of native areas. In order to ensure that control techniques are both humane and successful, it is necessary to combine meticulous planning, technology support, and an understanding of animal behavior. In addition to the conventional methods of trapping and aerial control, novel approaches are being investigated as potential solutions to the problem of wild boars. On the other hand, the utilization of ultrasonic devices and aroma repellents is becoming increasingly popular. These non-lethal deterrents emit special odors or high-frequency sounds that are unpleasant or disorienting to wild boars. This encourages wild boars to avoid places that are inhabited by humans without causing any harm to them. Participation from the community is yet another essential component in the management of wild boar populations. Residents are educated through educational programs on the importance of securing garbage cans, removing food waste, and improving fences, all of which combined help to minimize the number of attractants that wild boars use to enter neighborhoods. In order to facilitate prompt reactions, local authorities frequently work together with farmers and homeowners to establish reporting systems for wild boar sightings. In addition, wild boars have the potential to damage the soil and plants, which is another ecological consequence. Because of their rooting habit, the ground is disturbed, which can result in erosion and change the landscape of plant communities. Conservationists occasionally engage in habitat restoration initiatives after invasive species have been removed from their habitats. These programs involve planting native flora in order to recover ecosystems that have been destroyed and to prevent invasive species from taking root. Furthermore, An improvement in management strategies has been made as a result of studies on the social structures and migratory patterns of wild boar. The tracking of their daily ranges, breeding cycles, and preferred habitats can be obtained through the use of GPS collars, which provide vital data. Using this information, wildlife managers are able to adjust trap placements and timing, which results in increased capture rates, while also reducing the amount of intervention that is not necessary. There are certain locations that have established limited hunting seasons in order to keep the population levels in a balanced state. These regulated hunts are performed under stringent standards to maintain sustainability, promoting both ecological balance and local hunting traditions. The revenue that is earned from licensing is frequently used to fund additional wildlife management and conservation campaigns. There is also an effort being made to utilize developments in artificial intelligence, AI, and machine learning in the process of controlling wild boar. It is now possible for camera systems that are powered by artificial intelligence to autonomously differentiate wild boars from other animals and deliver real-time alerts to operators. Through the use of this technology, monitoring efficiency is increased, and reactions may be made more quickly and precisely targeted. In conclusion, international efforts that are collaborative acknowledge the fact that wild boar populations frequently straddle international borders, which calls for coordinated methods. The sharing of best practices, data, and resources across adjacent countries encourages holistic management approaches, which in turn reduces the amount of harm caused to agricultural production across international borders and the degradation of the environment. In many ecosystems, natural predators such as wolves, large cats, or bears play a crucial role in regulating wild boar populations. These predators help maintain ecological balance by keeping wild boar numbers in check, which reduces the pressure on vegetation and farmland. Encouraging the presence and protection of such predators can serve as a natural, sustainable method for population control. However, this approach requires careful ecological assessment to ensure that the reintroduction or conservation of predators does not negatively impact other species or human communities. Recent advances in genetic research are opening new possibilities for managing wild boar populations through fertility control. Scientists are investigating vaccines and gene editing techniques designed to reduce reproduction rates in wild boars without the need for lethal measures. These innovative methods offer a humane alternative to traditional culling and could prove especially useful in protected natural areas or densely populated regions where trapping is challenging. Wild boars can act as reservoirs for diseases such as African swine fever and various parasites, posing risks to livestock and even human health. Managing wild boar populations is therefore critical, not only to protect crops and ecosystems, but also to prevent outbreaks that could have severe economic and public health consequences. Integrating disease surveillance into population control programs helps detect and contain infections early. The damage caused by wild boars often results in significant financial losses for farmers and rural communities. To address this, some governments offer compensation programs or subsidies to farmers affected by crop destruction. This financial support encourages cooperation with wildlife management efforts. In addition, wild boar meat is sometimes harvested and sold, turning a wildlife challenge into a source of income and supporting local economies. Modern technologies such as thermal imaging cameras, satellite tracking, and drones have greatly enhanced the ability to monitor wild boar populations. These tools allow wildlife managers to detect and track animals in dense forests or during nighttime hours, improving the precision of control measures. By increasing situational awareness, these innovations help minimize disturbance to non-target species and reduce the overall impact on the environment. Some researchers are exploring non-lethal behavioral conditioning methods to steer wild boars away from sensitive areas like farms or residential zones. By associating certain locations with unpleasant stimuli, wild boars can learn to avoid these places over time. This approach leverages animal learning capabilities and offers a way to reduce human-wildlife conflict without physical capture or harm. Wild boar management often intersects with complex legal frameworks that govern wildlife protection, hunting rights, and animal welfare. Ethical concerns arise regarding humane treatment, the use of traps, and the methods employed to control populations. Transparency in policies and public engagement are essential to build community trust and ensure that control measures comply with legal and ethical standards. Wild boars have shown remarkable adaptability in urban environments, modifying their feeding and movement behaviors to coexist with human activity. Understanding these behavioral changes is critical to designing effective urban wildlife management plans. Strategies that focus on minimizing conflicts, such as securing waste and educating the public, help promote peaceful coexistence between humans and urban wild boar populations. In several regions, indigenous communities possess rich traditional knowledge about wild boar behavior and local ecology. Incorporating this indigenous wisdom alongside modern scientific research can enhance wildlife management strategies. Such collaboration respects cultural values and can provide practical insights that improve the effectiveness and sustainability of population control efforts. Effective wild boar management is an ongoing process that requires continuous monitoring and the flexibility to adapt to changing conditions. Adaptive management involves regularly evaluating control strategies based on new data, environmental shifts, and technological advances. This dynamic approach ensures that population control remains effective and balanced over time, protecting both human interests and ecosystem health.